There were 106 illustration rare cards released in the Pokemon TCG in 2024, and we're going to rank every single one of them one by one. So stick around, this is going to be a longer video, and we're going to take a close look at each and every one of the beautiful illustration rares released in 2024. Those were released in sets like Paldean Fates, Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, Shrouded Fable, Stellar Crown, Surging Sparks, and some pretty neat Black Star promos. A lot of these cards have some nice dynamic action shots. Some are just shots of lazy Pokemon. One thing you can count on is that these are a cheaper option to have some very beautiful cards in your binder, even if some of them are just downright evil, which we'll talk about. So before we take a look at the binder itself, let's one by one rank all of these awesome illustration rares. So we have 106 cards to get through, and one of them had to be at the bottom, and that honor goes to the Wugtrio from Paldean Fates. Not because this is a particularly ugly card or anything like that. I actually think it's beautiful, and, you know, I've got biases towards any of the underwater Pokemon, but it was just so repetitive to pull that, you know, it was something you dreaded pulling if you've ripped enough Paldean Fates. And that is why I look at this card and think of the pain of pulling it in Paldean Fates before I think of anything else. So that comes at our number 106 spot. And at 105 is the Larvesta from Surging Sparks. Just not a particularly interesting dynamic card for me, and as dark as it is, the holo, as you can kind of see there, the illustration rare shine doesn't really show through. You'll see that it does on all of the other cards we're looking at here. At 104, we have Palmy from Paldean Fates. Same thing as the Wugtrio. Again, no knock on the art. It's a cute card, but just not fun to pull. So I'm sure you can guess what is coming up next, because again, although I am biased towards the underwater Pokemon and love to keep a specific kind of aquarium binder, and I actually do love the art of this card, just, you know, the overall experience of pulling it in Paldean Fates was not very fun. Still very cool though. I love the concept of this being like the villain to the shiny villain to the normal hero illustration rare. Coming in at 102, if I get these numbers wrong, they'll be right on the screen, is the Chargebug from Temporal Forces. Again, really cool card. Nothing wrong with it. You can see mine is a little off center there, but it does just remind me of, I don't know, sort of a Crown Zenith gallery card, as opposed to the, I don't know, more mature style that they've kind of gone with in the art direction for the Scarlet and Violet era. So a really nice card by a great artist who will show up more as we go through this, but just not something that I needed to rank near the top of the list. Next is Excadrill, and you'll see that there are quite a lot of illustration rares showing Pokemon at work, and I love those cards. I really do. This is just not a super dynamic one, and doesn't really focus on the Pokemon. You know, it's more focused on the workers while the Pokemon just kind of sits there, and it is cute. Not a tremendously popular Pokemon or anything like that, but still a pretty cool card. Next, we have our Drampa from Temporal Forces. The only reason I rank this a little towards the low end isn't because I don't like the card. I think it's pretty cute, pretty derpy. Nice scale, like it a lot actually, but it looks too much like the regular card in the set. It doesn't differentiate itself enough as an illustration rare, but still, nice shine there. The next we have is Tapu Bulu from Shrouded Fable, and you'll hear me complain about, not complain, but you'll hear me mention why I've ranked certain cards the same way I've got this one. This is really just a showcase piece for this particular Pokemon with, you know, like a standard background. There's nothing special going on about this card. It almost feels to me like a monster you fight in a Dragon Quest game or something. It just kind of pops up with a static background and, you know, you hammer away at it. So that's why this one is towards the bottom of the list, but still good color balance and everything like that. Still a good card. There's no really bad cards here in the illustration rare category, but we got to rank them somehow. And same kind of thing here with our next card, the Scenic from Surging Sparks. A creepy card, for sure, but just overall not a very dynamic one, and doesn't do much to stand out from a set with some really, really cool illustration rares in it. Might get some blowback on this one, but next up is the Stunfisk. Just not something that is too impressive to me. It's cute. It's, you know, it does stand out. I'll give it that. But it's not the most artistic of the illustration rares, which I feel like is kind of the point of an illustration rare. You know, it makes you laugh, but nothing beyond that for me. So again, another illustration rare that very beautifully illustrates the Pokemon, this Vibrava here. And it is cool that a middle stage evolution gets, you know, this type of treatment. But it is just a pretty picture zoomed in of the Pokemon. It's almost, you know, like an artistic rendering of something you would take in Pokemon Snap. You know, like, ooh, I got a nice, well-centered picture of the Pokemon. There's not much going on there. You know, evolving from the Trapinch to the Vibrava, there's some interesting things in the insect world. I guess you could have this, you know, dragonfly Pokemon do rather than sit still on a branch to me. So the next is our first card here by Rend, who appears quite a few times. I think they have 5 cards on this list. A lot of illustration rares in 2024 for the artist Rend. And I really like this card. I don't mean to knock it in any way. A lot of the Rend cards are like this, though. This is kind of their style, zoomed in, artistic looking rendition with a fuzzy background of the Pokemon. And there are quite a few Rend cards. There are a few Rend cards ranked higher than this. Just not a big fan of Chimecho or Chimecho just sitting there like a wind chime on somebody's porch, which, you know, hey, that's what the Pokemon is. But again, just a very prettily done but boringly composed to me piece of artwork on this one. Same kind of thing here with Raboot. I do feel like I am focusing on negative things to say about the card. I do want to stress that every single one of these are amazing, and I think for an illustration rare collection, if that's all you wanted to go for, most of these cards are less than $10. Most of them are less than $5, and they're just incredible cards to collect. And this one is too. Just not a piece of artwork that grabs me and makes me want to rank it much higher than a lot of the fantastic cards we have yet to come. All right, we have our first promo illustration rare. This is the Pecharunt from the Shrouded Fable ETB. And a good card, but again, like what I was saying with Dragon Quest, this really does seem like a Dragon Quest villain, you know, that you just run into on a random encounter and have to fight. Pecharunt in the story, there's so many cool ways they could have done an illustration rare linking that Pokemon into the story of the game and bringing that into the TCG. And this is just kind of, you know, Pecharunt in a creepy forest. Very cute card coming up with Crawdle, and I really, really like when the illustration rares involve other Pokemon, just showing the Pokemon in, you know, sort of a natural environment and other wild Pokemon around them, and this is a really cool example of that. There are more cards just like that to come. We have another promo here with the Iron Thorns. Again, a cool illustration of Iron Thorns, but really just a bland background highlighting the Pokemon, which it does very well. Just there are more interesting cards to come. Same here with the Teal Mask Ogerpon. Very cute. running through a rice paddy or whatever that is. And there is some extra shine on this one. Hard to see. I have it still in the cellophane, so I've got that wrapped in a sleeve, so I don't want to take it out of the sleeve, but this is the Pokemon Center from the ETB. Next we have Torkoal. Very, very cute card. I love it. Sitting there with his old owner from Twilight Masquerade. Really nice card. I believe this is card 88. We have our Chaladon, which has gotten quite a few cards as far as illustration rares and special illustration rares, which we'll see later in another video. But I really like this card. I especially like the sort of festival vibe going on. But again, just kind of a weird spot for this particular Pokemon, which is why I don't rank it higher. But I love the art, love the composition. It's just, you know, suffers from not being the perfect spot for this Pokemon in my mind, and, you know, not fitting in thematically with the rest of Stellar Crown, really. Seems more like a Twilight Masquerade type of card. Speaking of Pokemon at work, we've got the Mudsdale. Love this card. Nice dynamic action shot. Doing its job. Really cool. Got the Mudbray there next to it, kind of trying to learn. Pretty cute. Like this card a lot. This is from Temporal Forces. Another Scarlet and Violet promo card. This one from the Paldean whatever chest. Very cute card. You know, they've done this quite a bit with Pikachu and a trio or more of other Pokemon surrounding Pikachu with their promo cards. You see this one's got some print lines in it. But we got the Mousehold, we got the Sprigatito, and we got the Pawmot, I guess that is. And it's a cute card, just not illustrated the best to me. It's, you know, a distinct style, but cute. The other cards like this, though, I think are a little bit better. All right, next, another one of the promos. We've got the Mimikyu. Just not a fan of it, to be quite honest. It's done well. I don't particularly like when realistic-looking humans are in Pokemon cards. I don't know why. Just seems like a weird contrast with that realistic-looking old lady and funny cartoon animal to me. Very colorful card here with the Enamorus. Very pretty. And you don't get much pink in the Pokemon world as far as this bright pink. It's either, you know, Jigglypuff and Clefairy and Chansey or Bust, I guess. But nice card. Nice pose. Abstract background, that kind of thing. Another similar vibe here. Why they're ranked so close together with the Flapple. Just a good focus on the Pokemon. Artistically done. I like it a lot. Kind of reads as a charcoal drawing. I'm not really sure if that comes across on the video, but with the card in hand, all the black outlines have a little bit of charcoal vibe to them, and probably just the brush they were using when they made this art digitally, but it does read a little more, you know, done in real life and then scanned for a Pokemon card than a lot of the other cards where they just, you know, are very apparently done digitally. Next, we have a nice card from Twilight Masquerade, the Lairon. Again, it's cool that these middle stage evolutions get some love. And this is a cute card. I love it when you see a sense of scale with the Pokemon in the real world. Pretty cool. Another card I really, really enjoy, you know, personally. Just a cool Reuniclus. And this reminds me a lot of actually playing the game. You know, in the DLC, there's a different environment, but in the ice biome or whatever, in the DLC, these are just floating in the water just like this. Kind of cool. Here's another good one. Not sure why Joltik in particular needs 2 illustration rares. The other one I do believe is better than this. But this is a cool card, another abstract background. And, you know, for basing a Pokemon off quite possibly one of the worst insects to exist on the planet, they certainly made this one cute. Very cool card here. This very cool Titan. Kind of stands out on the page. Nice splash of blue. You really feel the environment with it. This one's from Surging Sparks. So you've heard me say dynamic about 500 times. This is a dynamic card. This is kind of what I have in mind when I talk about it. Very nice. You know, the Heliolisk running right across the water, right toward you. Another one cheering in the background or ready to go after him. Just, again, kind of a weird photo style for a cartoon animal, but still a very nicely composed Pokemon card. We got another nice card here, Appleton. They really gave the Applin line a lot of love in the illustration rare category and the special illustration rare category, but this is a nice card. Very cute in the apple orchard, hanging out. Next up is a pretty funny card, and I do like it when there's some comedy added to my Pokemon cards, but the Cramorant here from Twilight Masquerade, looking confused, the world a blur around him, kind of nice. So another card that I really like with the color composition and everything, but I'll be honest, I might not even know what is totally going on with it. Is that Laleep in a terrarium? That's what it looks like to me, and it's pretty cool. So this is kind of what I meant with the Mimikyu. This looks way better to me with a, you know, stylistically cartoon-drawn human next to the fake cartoon animal than it does with a, you know, real-looking old lady next to Mimikyu. So this is a good contrast for what I mean there. So I'm definitely going to get some flack rating this one this low, especially considering what else the artist has done. But the next up is Clobbopus here. Just, you know, love the artist style and think it's very cute. But this might be a little too abstract for me, for a little too odd of a Pokemon inside of the Surging Spark set, which again has some really cool stuff. I strangely like the bottom of the card with all the coral more than I really like what the Pokemon is doing in any of the scenes above. So we talked about Rend. Here's the next Rend card. And as you can see, it's still zoomed in Pokemon, fuzzy background, but a much cuter pose, much cuter Pokemon, and so it gets a higher ranking. Same kind of vibe on this one right here with Fracture. Just a very chill scene with Fracture relaxing at the waterfall there and some Axews hanging out behind it. Really nice card. And one of the few in Shrouded Fable, and Shrouded Fable, every, you know, illustration rare is pretty fantastic. They pull a lot of weight in that set. So coming in all the way at number 71, I know I'm going to get some hate for this, but we've got the Slack Off from Surging Sparks. I do love this card. It is really great. I think this is a fantastic example of doing a lot with very little. But I just like the cards above it more. Still a very cool card. For an underrated Pokemon, or at least I feel like it's underrated. Next, another cute card with a Q-Fant from Shrouded Fable. Just a very nice scene. Very cool card. Nothing wrong here, you know. This is just a good illustration of a good scene. This next one, it actually hurts my heart to rank what I feel is pretty low for an Arita card. And the three, I think, that he has in this list of 2024 illustration rares are all underwater Pokemon. We'll check that out as we go. I do love this card. I like Wattrel, and you know, not to out myself as too much of a dork here, but I really like Wattrel in Pokemon Horizons, the anime, and so that might be pulling a lot of weight here. But this is a great Twilight Masquerade card, and I struggle to decide whether I want to put a copy of this in my underwater Pokemon, binder there. But the only thing I think would have improved it is if we could see what the Wattrels were hunting in the water instead of just randomly diving in it. And maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're just randomly diving in and playing. But still, beautiful card. So this may make me seem a little bit hypocritical here because this Pheasantipity from Shrouded Fable is the poster child for just looking like a JRPG encounter card. But that is sort of indicative of how you encounter Pheasantipity in the game, and I think that's pretty cool. So you just gotta climb up a mountain or fall down a mountain and chance upon the bird. So I like this, and it's pretty neat. Still a lot to go, but this Cresselia is a beautiful card. As we get through another Shrouded Fable illustration rare. Just very pretty, very artistically done. Reminds me a bit of the Crabominable that we will be talking about moving forward. Great color choices on this card with the Metatite, and just neat composition. Kind of rule of thirds thing going on with it up there in the corner instead of dead center. Really cool scale hanging out at the top of the tree, and nice landscape behind it. Just a nice jungle scene. We have another promo card, the King Gambit. This one may be hard to show in the video, but he does take up so much space here. It's kind of hard to see what's going on in the background, but there's a very twisted, knotted type of pine or, bonsai-esque shaped tree in the background. And it's just really cool. It adds to the vibe, standing on straw there, just squaring up, ready to do his samurai best. But a nice looking card. And it comes in the King Gambit illustration rare promo box. And so this isn't an expensive one. In fact, it might not even be $1, but still a really cool card. Another card from Rend with a zoomed in Pokemon and a blurry background, but still a pretty zoomed in Pokemon with a blurry background. And I think this fits quite well for Vivillon. I actually struggled with where to rate this one because this is a cute card for a Pokemon I don't care much for. But this is a cute example, well composed, well illustrated. Sunflora card from Twilight Masquerade. Another very cute card in the pink color palette. So this would look good, if you did a pink illustration rare page with the Enamorus we looked at before. But just a lot of little fun Easter eggs to look for in this with the different, Pokemon in the candy bowls or the glitter bowls or whatever those are. Kind of neat stuff. So if you remember or you watched my Twilight Masquerade Master Set video, I went on and on about how much I loved how representative of the vibe of the DLC Twilight Masquerade was. And this is a good example of that. You've got your festival booth and the Diplin hanging out at it, just very much giving off the same vibes as the game did. So I really, really like cards like this. Speaking of Pokemon at work, this Meltan is pretty cool. A very odd and controversial Pokemon to throw randomly into an illustration rare for Temporal Forces, but still a neat way to incorporate it into a nice illustrated scene. Another Pokemon at work in this Timber card. I love it. It's incredible. Good job, Twilight Masquerade. You got some wonderful cards. And really like this lifting up the roof beam, helping out. This is a good counterpoint to that Excadrill. See, the focus on this is the Pokemon helping the humans in work as opposed to just the humans being front and center feeding it. This is pretty cool. So one of the cutest illustrators on this list is Yukihiro Tada, and this is their first card but won't be the last and is the lowest ranked, and the others are, I think, up there. So, Turtonator, cool card from Stellar Crown. From a great artist. Hiding from the rain there. Pretty cool. Maybe because I am a parent, but this Phanpy is just the cutest. Frolicking around, you know, as baby elephants do. Really nice card. Cool sunset in the background. Another one where I may not fully know what's going on in the card. I'm not sure if this Bronzor is in a museum or just escaped out of a museum or what, but still a wonderfully composed card with some great colors and really shines well as an illustration rare. In fact, I'm not seeing any whitening or anything, and this one's decently centered for something in my collection anyway. So maybe this is one I would get graded sometime. Hello, darkness, my old Rend. We got Rend again. With a zoomed in Pokemon and blurry stuff in the background. But a really cool one. And, you know, may not be uncommon for Pokemon lovers, but I love birds. I have bird feeders in my backyard. I watch them. I, you know, keep a mental list or keep track of all the birds I see in my yard, all that kind of stuff. Don't go full on old man birding yet, but I could see that in my future. So I really do like this card. This is a nice cutie fly at the bird bath. So our next card is this Crabominable by Arita, and so I was wrong. This is the one that is not an underwater Pokemon, but this is just a textbook example of just a master Pokemon artist doing so much with so little. I mean, when the Stellar Crown set was teased, this card immediately stood out and doesn't disappoint in person. It's almost hard to pick up because it's so one note and shiny like that on camera. But in person, this really stands out and just seems like a frozen cold scene with just an awesome Pokemon in the background. It's a really cool card. So another one that just gives off tremendous vibes is this promo, Fluttermane. Just a great, great card. Can't even really see what's going on in the background of the card, but you don't need to. You just got this creepy, intimidating Fluttermane going right by you through the grass. Really cool. So we return to another promo card and the artist who kicked us off here with the Wugtrio that I despise. But it isn't because the artist is bad. This is an incredible card by the same artist, Tetsu Kayama, and it just really gives off like, I don't know, Paper Mario vibes or something, or like the Yarn Yoshi game, whatever it was. Just really, really cool looking card and a unique take on Noctowl specifically. So just, you know, checking out all their treasures in their knot hole there. Very cool. I'm a Gen 1 kid, and there will be Gen 1 bias in this video coming up, I'm sure. But I think this is a fair rating for a very, very cool Arbok card. Looking very intimidating there. Maybe about to give it some dinner. Really love that card. All right, if I've counted right, this is our number 50, this wonderful Kecleon. And I actually waffled back and forth because they're similar, this Kecleon and this Arbok, you know, to reptilian Pokemon hanging out in a tree. But I just love the other Kecleons, you know, in the background, hiding out and camouflaging. Just a very cool card. So I do have a soft spot for the Loyal 3. Really enjoyed the games. I think these are some pretty cool legendaries. And this Monkey Dory is a nicely composed card to introduce Monkey Dory into the TCG through the Shrouded Fable set. Pretty nice. Not incredible, but still a good card. A lot of you may be surprised to see this card down here so far down, but I mean, there's just so many good illustration rares, and this feel is very cute, and I do love it, but I just like the cards above it more, and this is another cheap, kind of must-have illustration rare. Just, there's no reason not to have this in a binder if you find it as a single. Here's another one that has some very dynamic posing and just great choice of color. Just wonderful, wonderful design here. The Zero Aura really stands out in the hand, on the page. Just a very nice card. So talking about illustration rares that show off other Pokemon in the background, this one kind of gives off the same vibes as the Pikachu from 151, this Probopass. Very nice card. Hanging out, what, in the park like a statue or something? Pretty nice. This next card, this Skarmory illustration rare, just has such awesome atmosphere. It reminds me of taking a road trip with my family through the desert. And I never even did that. So this is just a very cool card with some very nice vibes to it, and a great bird illustration rare. Here's another just absolutely beautiful card with some amazing vibes. This Ledian. If it was a Gen 1 Pokemon, this would fit in perfectly with some of the illustration rares from 151. Just a beautiful, beautiful card. Doing a lot of justice to, you know, not one of the most impressive Pokemon they've ever released, you know. Speaking of the original 151, this Horsey card is incredible. I love it. It's just a great underwater scene for a seahorse. I keep and have kept saltwater fish tanks. Never had a seahorse tank. I almost said horsey tank. Never had a seahorse tank, but you know, this would make me want to get one. So apologies to Akira Egawa here, one of the most incredible illustrators working in the TCG at the moment. And this is a beautifully illustrated card of Okidogi, but it is just a card of Okidogi. So I didn't feel like I could really rank it much higher. Akira Egawa did all of the golds from Crown Zenith, and, you know, the Charizard from Obsidian Flames, the Charizard from Paldean Fates. Just a very iconic artist in the TCG. And this is another wonderfully illustrated card, but not one of the standouts of the year in the illustration rare category. It almost seems silly to rank this Beware card above something illustrated by Akira Egawa, but I mean, it's just got such presence to it. I love this card. It's so cool. And, you know, this is not a Pokemon you would expect to get such a neat illustration rare. Again, Shrouded Fable, just an incredible set for some relatively cheap illustration rares outside of a few there. But this is a very cool card. All right, so coming in at number 40, just a beautiful, beautiful Litten card. Awesome perspective on it with the kind of the fisheye lens look. And, you know, if you own a cat, you know they like to sleep in drawers. So just very cute. Got the Meowth up there in the corner as well. Cat tower over to the right. Just a very cool card. Shows a lot of love to whoever owns this Litten. All right, let's get into the 30s. Number 39 is Shiftry. Which shout out to JBB Gaming on Instagram if you follow him. He does a lot of the pretty cool filters and drafts and stuff on there. And this is kind of a meme on his channel there. I love this card. Just a really good example of, you know, a mid-tier Pokemon, don't kill me, getting an absolutely S-tier illustration treatment. And in contrast to the detail of the previous card, this just shows through the artist Jerky here that, you know, sometimes less is more. This is an awesome, awesome Gulpin card. Can't complain. One of the better cards in the Stellar Crown set, and just very cute. Good card. So this is from Shinji Kanda, the artist who has illustrated quite possibly two of the best cards in the TCG in the past, like 4 or 5 years. the Giratina from Lost Origin, and the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved, which is the most expensive illustration rare in the Scarlet and Violet era. And this is a great card too. It doesn't quite live up to either of those two, but it was the promo for Surging Sparks in the ETB, and it is a pretty cool card. If we were ranking, 2023 or the other years of illustration rares, this is the artist that would have the #1 spot in my eye, because it's very hard to beat that Magikarp. It's just, it is the most expensive illustration rare and well-deserved, in my opinion. Next up is the Applin from Twilight Masquerade. Again, the thematic integration really pulling weight here, because this just straight up feels like the game. Finding Applin in the apple orchard, all that kind of good stuff. Just a really, really cool card for something so simple. Just an apple Pokemon. So next we have the Sunny Form Cast Form. Just a wonderful, wonderful illustration here from Narano, and one of the cooler illustration rares in Surging Sparks. You basically get all the other cast forms there in the picture, nicely detailed, cool perspective. We've sort of turned a corner here where there is going to be very few negative things for me to say about any of these cards, and it's really hard to rank them. This is just up to personal taste. If you guys rank them differently, please feel free to sound off in the comments, because I certainly mean no disrespect by ranking any one of these above the other. But this Metagross card is very, very cool. Just well composed, nice contrasting colors there between the blue and the yellow. Just good art there. Next up is one of two, I don't know, kind of maybe unintentionally dark cards on this list, but this Poltergeist, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Poltergeist's Dex entry says that, luring people into tasting that like steals their souls or something. So poor kid. But still, very cool card from Twilight Masquerade. So I don't know if this card is actually designed by like a single real artist, or if this is a design company or what, but so like a 5-bond situation or whatever. But this is still a wonderful card. If you would have told me it was a Rend card, I would have believed you, but I like it a lot. It's a cute snom. So ranked this high it is. Might get some flack for this, but again, Arita is just such an incredible artist, and this has got such a cool focus on an admittedly strange Pokemon, but this Bruxish card is just beautiful to me from Surging Sparks. And again, I do have, a bias towards the underwater scenes like this, but just illustrated by the original, legend himself. Can't go wrong. Just a great card. Coming in at number 30 is this awesome Chatot, which is laid out like a music sheet. And I should have looked this up before filming, but is it like the Pokemon theme? Can't remember. But very, very beautiful card from Temporal Forces. All right, we are really getting into some incredible cards now, where any of these could be ranked above or below the others. But this Lickitung from Temporal Forces, it's just a really, really cool card. And I think relatively in demand as well. I don't think it's like worth a ton, but nothing wrong with an awesome Lickitung. Don't call me a Gen 1er. One of my favorite underwater scenes to come out recently is this Relicanth. I think Relicanth is an awesome Pokemon, just really, really cool. And, you get the Shelter in the background, you get the Tortugas or whatever, and the Luminions and stuff like that. So just a really nice card, again, from Arita. And I can't rank any of his cards lower than I did, so here we go. So we have our first of the dual art connected cards, and I am going to have trouble displaying them together because I'm reaching into a light box, but we got the Minccino and Cinccino. Very cute. Like them a lot. And I'm going to kind of like rank them together because they belong together, right? So those will be side by side. So this is the next unintentionally dark one with this Frostlass. I think, again, the dex entry says, like, if you open your door to Frostlass, you die or something. I don't know. So whoever opened this door has something coming to him. But regardless, a very well-composed card. Very pretty card. I like it a lot. It gives off great atmosphere. So we go into another card with this Braviary where just the skill in illustration really elevates the card from, you know, what doesn't have to be so good for just a Braviary. Apologies if you're a big fan of Rufflet and Braviary, but this goes harder than really any Braviary card needs to, and just such a wonderful illustration. So yes, my bias is showing on this one, but this is just a wonderful, wonderful card. Again, I love the underwater scenes, and I do have an extra copy of this in my underwater binder, which I will show off. I've seen you guys ask for that, so we'll find an excuse to show that off in a future video. Maybe we'll discuss, instead of master setting, how you can set scenes or something in your binder, but this is a great card. But not as good as this Execute. I love this card. I actually, I don't know, is Execute the ball? Is it getting wrecked? Or is it just like sitting there hanging with its owner while its owner does a lot of different sports? You know, I don't know. But awesome card from Surging Sparks, and I don't think there's many arguments from anyone about how cool this card is. So happy it landed where it landed. Speaking of Surging Sparks, we've got the beautiful Mesprit, which I originally thought was part of the Latios artwork, but I think I was wrong there. So I think it just happens to line up kind of well. It is a beautiful card regardless, though. And we're starting to actually get into some of these illustration rares that, you know, pass the $10 mark and are a little expensive. So next is the Infernape, which when Twilight Masquerade, the cards for it first started leaking, this was the first one that grabbed my eye. I thought that is my chase card of the set. It didn't end up being, but I just think Infernape is so cool, and this is a great, great card. It has not grown on me since seeing it. I actually think composition-wise, you know, it's neat, but there are a lot more being done. There's a lot more being done with some other illustration rares, but this is still a great card, and I do enjoy it. So the next card from Yukihiro Tada, just absolute cuteness overload, awesome, simple art style, is the Alolan Dugtrio from Surging Sparks. I don't think anybody is disappointed when they pull this card. Just a great card. Next is the Chansey from Twilight Masquerade. Just a fantastic illustration rare. Everybody loves, you know, the illustration rares of the original 151. I'm no exception. I hope they eventually finish them all in this style so that you can have like a little sub-collection of 151 illustration rares. But this is a great addition to that with all the extra Pokemon included. I love it. So we have another dual artwork with the Deerling and the Sawsbuck. Kind of hard to display there together, but can't go wrong there. Honestly, this could be ranked higher and you'd get no argument from me. But for me, these belong where they are here. But either way, you should get these. Absolutely. They're a little pricey for illustration rares, but you should get them. And our final card. by Yukihiro Tada is this amazing pincer. This is swappable with the Alolan Dug Trio, to be honest, but this is just the one I like a little more. Both great. I wouldn't mind a full set illustrated by this artist. It fits so well. Really love this card. So I will not show off the attaching art, but while I do love this Feebas, I will say that it's ranked this high because of its match with the Milotic, which we will talk about with the review of the illustration rares, or rather special illustration rares. So this is a wonderful card that stands on its own, don't get me wrong, but it is significantly elevated on this list and as a card by the connecting artwork. So the next card on our list is this Duskull, and again, it does form a series, not a connected piece of art, but it does form a series. So I'm kind of ranking them all together here, even though they are in a specific order. But these are a little pricey too because of the playability factor, but I just love the story they tell, and they're all illustrated by the same artist, James Turner, and the story they tell is, just Duskull and Dusclops getting a little closer and Dusknoir just straight looking in your window. Just very cool, very funny. To me, that's what Pokemon is all about. All right, let's get into our top 10. So if you thought that I was, talking out of my butt when I said that the Feebas stood on its own as an illustration but was elevated by its connecting artwork, hopefully you don't think I am with this one, because this is the exact same situation, but this Hisuian Growlithe is just illustrated incredibly all on its own. So it is, again, significantly elevated by the special illustration rare that connects to it, but regardless, it's a beautiful, beautiful card. I love it. It's just so, so good. So it comes in at number 10. Number 9 is this incredible Tatsugiri. And, I wouldn't be mad at you if you ranked this number 1. It's so good. I can't really explain why. It's just a sushi fish Pokemon, but it's so good. I really, really love it. Coming in at number 8 is the wonderfully illustrated Cerulege from Surging Sparks. Again, just a really cool card that is carried by what the artist chose to do with it. And it's so good that, in Prismatic Evolutions, there's a special art rare, Cerulege, that just builds off of this idea into a more dynamic pose. But I still think this art might be a little more focused and a little more impressive. So coming in at number 7 is this incredible Houndoom, just beautiful. And I'm glad it's showing up on the camera, because sometimes this is kind of a dark card, but you can see just layers of depth there. And it's just, an iconic Pokemon, a well-loved Pokemon, and done justice with a beautiful illustration rare. So coming in at number 6, another one that is undeniably beautiful all on its own, maybe from a strange perspective, but is elevated significantly when you attach it to the Latias special illustration rare that connects to it. So these are both, to me, essential to collect if you love Pokemon artwork, especially on the recent cards. And this one right here deserves its spot near the top, all on its own. All right, so finally hitting the top 5, and we're going to kick it off with Persian from Shrouded Fable. Again, Shrouded Fable just goes crazy hard with the illustration rares, and this is a fantastic, fantastic illustration rare. It sort of builds off the Giovanni from 151, the Giovanni special illustration rare, and it's just, stands all on its own as a valuable card, a beautiful card, and one of the better pulls from the set as a whole. Just because it's such a great card to look at. And I think it deserves its spot in the top 5. In fact, I'm seeing now in the light there that mine has a tiny little nick on it up there. So I'm going to have to replace this because I love the card so much. I might buy a PSA 10 or something. Coming in at number 4, a card I actually wanted to rank higher, but I just couldn't justify putting it above the others, is the Ghastly from Temporal Forces. You know, talking about how Pokemon should be light and comical, but also beautiful. That's what the card that's what the cards are to me. And you know, you got Gengar licking something funny back there, and Ghastly looking back at it. You know, Meowth here in the foreground, and Haunters all over the place. It's just a wonderful card, well composed, beautifully illustrated, and hard to beat in the illustration rare category. All right, number 3. I'm sure you guys can guess what the top 3 are by now. Is the Bulbasaur from Stellar Crown. Just something we all waited for a long time, since the Charmander was released in Obsidian Flames and the trio was released overseas before we got it, the other 2 pieces of it in Stellar Crown. This Bulbasaur is incredible. I like Bulbasaur more than Squirtle, but the art on this one with Bulbasaur relaxing and the Pidgey flying in just doesn't justify placing it above the Squirtle. So this is a beautiful card regardless, and I think I'll check the values as I'm editing the video, but I think it's like the 2nd or 3rd most expensive illustration rare of the year. So just an awesome card. Kind of an essential trio to get, again, between the Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle set of illustration rares. They all work so well together and tell a cohesive story with these Pidgeys. And number 2 is that Squirtle. So again, there are Pidgeys again. Squirtle shooting some water at them. I do like the Charmander better than I like either of these with his grumpy face, but that didn't come out in 2024. So these are the only 2 that qualify, and this is just an amazing card. And one you get excited about to pull in Stellar Crown. You know, you legitimately open the set hoping to pull either the Squirtle or the Bulbasaur. So that's very cool for an illustration rare to have that claim to fame for a set. And no surprise, the number 1 illustration rare of the year is the Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. Not only is it worth the most on the open market as a single and all that kind of good stuff, it really is just an incredible piece of artwork and works really well thematically going into Prismatic Evolutions, our Eeveelution set coming out here in a couple weeks. So no chance this wasn't the best illustration rare of 2024. Sometimes the market does get it right. This is just a great card. So let's take a look again at the binder and talk about the special illustration rares coming up next. So there you have it, all 106 illustration rares from the 2024 Pokemon releases ranked. And I hope, sincerely, that you disagreed as much as possible, because if you put them all in a binder like this, I want to show you just how much it all gets lost, because all of them look so great. You know, I kept the basic order that we just went over in the video, but I did make some changes to keep some of the continuous art together. And it's just so wonderful. There's no wrong way to do this. And if you don't like collecting master sets, or you just want to collect the cards you like, look at how good this type of binder can look. You don't have to just collect everything. You can just collect certain things. And like we said, most of these cards aren't just under, you know, $5. Some of them are $1, $2, etc. So we won't go further than this, because we've got some special illustration rares that we're going to go over in the next video. But I appreciate you guys tagging along with me on this sort of different type of video here. If you liked it, please let me know down in the comments. and tell me what you would have ranked number 1 for the illustration rares of 2024. Thanks a lot, everybody, and I hope to see you real soon to review all of the special illustration rares. And here in a week or two, we're going to be opening up some prismatic evolutions. So can't wait to start on that master set. It's pretty intimidating, but should be fun. Thanks a lot. Catch you in the next one.